Hello everyone, PenguinSal here again, and we are today going to be reviewing Day of Demos 7. We did play 7 games today for Day of Demos 7. That was not intentional, but it worked out pretty well. And I have to tell you, we go into a lot of these demos blind, we don't know a lot about them. So you have some wins, you have some losses. I thought this had some lower quality games, honestly. I know it sounds not great. They weren't quite as big of wins as some of the demos in the past have been. But that's honestly okay. We're here to give our honest and objective opinion about these games. I will continue to tell you about these both good and bad. So the first game we played for Day of Demos 7 was called Mystical Conquests. I actually found out about this one on Twitter, that they had a demo. I figured I'd try it out. It is another hexagon board type game, which have become really popular, honestly, using hexagons as the playmat. But essentially, you have your little people, and you use them to craft this town, and they harvest resources for you that you use to build more things for your town. And you also have to build them as squads of different types of soldiers to go and explore the map, get resources, and fight off enemies. Essentially, you're trying to survive 90 days. Every 30 days, it's supposed to get bad. They're supposed to start attacking you. I had some issues with this one. First of all, there was just a lot of written text tutorial early on. I get it's necessary to understand all of the different things that you can do, but it just hits you with a wall of text as soon as you load it up. It's a lot for somebody starting out. I think breaking up the tutorials a little bit would be a kind of a nice way to go. I get having this as a document you can reference back to is not bad, but just hitting a new player with all of the text is kind of a little off-putting, especially in a demo that is presumably not too long. I thought the biggest issue I had with this game is your primary resource in this is honestly people, because they're your workers that harvest your lumber and your food, because you have to make sure everyone's fed every day. They're also the ones who build everything, your different structures, the sawmill, the farms. And they're also the people that you put into your squads to go out and fend off the monsters that are attacking. But the only way to get more people in this game is to send out squads, find neighboring cities, and take the people from the cities. You just don't have enough people to do everything. If you need to make sure you're getting resources harvested every day so you can use the research points you get from the library to make training facilities and make sure that you have farms and things that are giving you resources, you need to have people working these. And when you start out, you have like 2 workers and like a squad of 3, something along those lines. And the 3 guys just get screwed up in combat. Like, the combat system, I think, is an issue as well. It brings you into this little hexagonal board. You have different types of guys who can either move different amount of spaces or attack at different ranges. I just think early on, your guys don't do any damage. And every character gets 2 action points that can be movement or attacks. So you could do 2 movements, you can do 2 attacks, or you can do 1 of each. Well, when you move up to an enemy, that's 1 movement, and then you attack them as two actions. That's your whole turn. Well, then on the enemy's turn, their guys get 2 actions. So they get to attack your guys twice. Every single guy gets to attack twice if you're already next to them. It's too much damage. And your guys get permadeath. In our first combat, we lost 1 of our 3 soldiers that we had. And losing people just makes the game feel so bad. Like, you just don't have enough people to be harvesting resources and getting stronger so they can go and explore to find more people and fight off enemies. So I did not enjoy Mystical Conquests. I thought you just didn't get people quick enough to do all of the things that needed to be done in this game. So I felt it was just difficult. And not difficult in a challenging way, difficult in just like a not super well crafted game way, If you want to try out Mystical Conquests for yourself and see, that you're better at these than I am, there is a link for it down in the description. Feel free to check it out and comment and let me know what you thought about this one and, if you thought my opinions were valid or not. The second demo we played for Day of Demo 7 was called Aveliana. So Aveliana, I've actually been following its journey for a few years now, since the developer really started posting about it. So I did have a close attachment to this one in a sense. I have been following the journey and was excited for this one. So, you know, I hope if he watches this, he doesn't take this too harshly. But I did not enjoy this game very much. I thought the controls were a bit janky. They didn't feel smooth. The attack animations felt slow. Essentially, the only thing you could do in combat was just swing your sword. It didn't combo or anything. It just slowly attacked. The controls said there was a ranged attack. I never saw that as an option. It might have been something you had to unlock later. When I would press the button for it, it would show like a line lining up an attack, but then it wouldn't do anything. I did not like the dash mechanic in this game. I think dashes and dodge rolls and things are essential to every type of game, especially ones like this. And you get a dash eventually, but you can't use it when you're in an enemy encounter. It says you can level it up by using it outside of combat, and it'll level up and get to the point where you can use it in combat. Even once we had the ability leveled up, we still couldn't dodge roll or dash inside of combat, which made fighting enemies just impossible, because you would go in, swing your really slow attack, and then they would just hit you while you were doing it. They weren't, stunned. They don't flinch, and you can't hit them and then dash out. You just kind of have to sit there and take your beating, which also doesn't work because when you get into an enemy attack zone, you can't leave until all the enemies are dead. So if you're doing poorly and getting destroyed, you can't just leave and regroup and come back. You have to figure out a way to kill them or just lose. I think it looks like it could have a charming story. I thought the game was very dark, like physically just dark and kind of hard to tell where you're supposed to go. A lot of the game plays up stealth, so you try to keep out of like their line of sight of the enemies by hiding in tall grass, but there's just a lot of trees and things that are just blocking out your view a lot of times, so it's hard to tell where to go. I know there's a little arrow that's pointing you in the direction of where you're supposed to go, but it's just really hard to find your path. So while this was a game that I was looking forward to for a while, I'm not sure I'll check back on the full one. I didn't like the controls. I didn't like the combat. Hopefully I'm wrong about this. If I am, feel free to let me know and tell me, what you thought was great about Aveliana. I do like the art style. I think is very pleasing. But I just control-wise in combat, I did not feel this one. Feel free to check it out. It's in the description below. Let me know what you thought about this one. The third demo we played for Day of Demo 7 was by far my favorite one today. This was called Olliefrog Toad Skater. And if that sounds like Tony Hawk Pro Skater to you, it's because it is. But you play as a little frog on a skateboard that you can customize pretty much endlessly. They had so many different colors you could make them. They had facial hair you could give them, glasses, hats, butterfly wings. You could customize the skateboard. I had a ton of fun just seeing all the different things that you could put on your little frog bud. Ours ended up being a peng wizard. We gave him what looked like a penguin beak. We gave him a wizard hat, and we had a star skateboard that matched the hat. I loved this one. I thought this was adorable and really fun. It does play out a lot like Tony Hawk. And I gotta tell you, I think they have a good amount of interesting combos you can do for this one. It feels like playing Tony Hawk, but you're a little frog guy. You go through a tutorial that tells you how to do all the different combos, which was a little bit confusing because in the tutorial they only give you controller controls, but I was playing on keyboard, which does work, but you kind of have to piece together those keys yourself because they don't say them in the tutorial, which was a little challenging. But once we finished the tutorial and we had free reign to do tricks, we had so much fun with this one. We were just busting out 8 combos, like combos of 8 different tricks. This looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. I definitely am excited for this. We did break the game. We did so many combos in a row that we actually phased through the ground. But I'm willing to look past that because the gameplay was just a lot of fun. I would recommend this one if you like Tony Hawk or you just think frog on skateboard sounds great. I would check this out. There's going to be a link for it down in the description. Let me know if you play this one. Olliefrog Toad Skater. I'm going to be keeping my eye on this because this was a ton of fun. The next demo we played for Day of Demo 7 was called Clonizer. Like Clonizer. This one, going into, I loved it conceptually. I thought it plays out on a little hexagon board, but a lot of your cards are the ability to summon these little clones from this machine, and then you send them out to explore the map and collect cards for you and set up structures. I think it's just really well crafted. I'm like, a card game that's summoning your little minions to run around for you, and because they're clones, you can use their cards over and over. Like, we had one that was upgraded, and we were able to summon him multiple times because each card is technically, you're just cloning the guy. I thought this has a lot of potential. It is a roguelike. It plays out on a, roguelike classic Slay the Spire-esque map where you pick the different things you want to do if you want to go to a shop, if you want to upgrade, if you want more combats. It does follow through that way. I thought this had some really interesting ideas for things that cards could do. To kind of, you can give your clones equipment, which could be a sword or a gun or a jetpack, and it allows them to either have more health for a combat, it allows them to move more distance in a single action, it allows them more actions to have, because each clone can do one thing in a turn, and it's usually just move one space. There's also mutations of them that would, like, I had one that turned him into a fly, that would give him the ability to see 2 spaces out instead of 1, because essentially your clones are moving around uncovering the map as they go. And each of the worlds has different objectives. It could be collect a handful of stars, or bacteria, or you could have to find these teleporters. I thought my biggest gripe with this game, for sure, was I thought it had a difficulty spike, and kind of in a strange way. So, they have these FFOs, they call them. They're like UFO guys that can randomly, it seemed random to me. If there was a pattern to it, I didn't pick up on it. They can randomly attack your machine that summons your clones. And so they'll fly out, and it'll tell you how much damage they're doing, and you have cards that allow you to block. But in the last combat we did in the demo, it seemed like they were attacking randomly for large amounts of damage. You have 40 health. They were doing 15, 17, like, per attack. And it seemed like they had some sort of, like, insider knowledge, so it could have just been insanely bad RNG. But, like, we never had block cards on the turns they were attacking. It just never lined up. The turns we would draw all of our block, they wouldn't attack. And there's no way to know. It's random. So you can't really prepare for it ahead of time. Like, we even had a time when we had a card that made it so block wouldn't go away at the end of the turn. So we juiced up about 20 block and had that same 20 block for next turn. They didn't attack either turn. They attacked the turn after our block expired, so the third turn. It was like the only time they stopped attacking. They didn't attack for 2 straight turns was when we kept our block. So I think this one does have a ton of potential. The concept is very fun, and summoning your clones and juicing them up. Like, we had a clone, he got upgraded because we let him sing our company's, like, national anthem, essentially. And that leveled him up. I thought that was very funny and charming. But this one does have a ton of potential. The concept is very fun, but there was a couple of things I thought were just a little bit of difficulty spikes. We'll keep an eye on this one. It is a demo, so maybe it'll be better in the full release. But I did think the combat just got a little bit too much towards the end. And it really played off the RNG, which it's a deck builder, so I get that. But it doesn't always make it fun. But let me know what you guys thought about Clonizer if you've tried this one out. The 5th demo we played for Data Demo 7 was called Throne of Bone. This one definitely looked like it was going to be in my wheelhouse, so I figured I'd definitely try this out. When I first started it, it felt like it was going to play out like the card combat in Inscription, where you have your little guys out and they attack the guys across from them. They have health and they have attack. And it did to an extent, but I actually thought the best equivalent for this game is actually Super Auto Pets, if you're familiar. I was surprised by how much it felt like Super Auto Pets, in that before each combat you have a chance to, like, draft, like, little minions to your team. If you took 2 of the same minion, you could stack them on each other, and that's how they got experience, and they would level up that way. You could also use these skulls that you would achieve. That was essentially the currency. To give them like permanent +2 strength or permanent +2 health, which was very similar to like the chocolate bar and apple and things in Super Auto Pets. I mean, it also was an auto battler. You could set your guys up in a certain way, but essentially your guys would choose who they wanted to attack on a given turn. So I enjoyed this one. I had some fun with this. There was some pretty interesting things you could do, and I imagine there was a lot of Super Auto Pets-esque synergies in the sense of like, oh, summon this guy and he'll give a +1/+1 to one of your guys, and then you sell him and just buy somebody else. Like, they had a lot of that type of thing. We had fun with this, though, because we had a guy who we bought early on that got +1/+... He got +1 attack whenever he attacked and destroyed an enemy. Well, we ended up just juicing him up. We were giving him, like, all the perks. We gave him a thing that made it so whenever he killed an enemy, he got to attack again. We gave him a thing that if the first time he dies in a combat, he gets resummoned with 1 health. So at the end of the demo, we played a boss that had 50 health. This guy was up to 25 attack, though, so he just two-shotted him. I don't think it was supposed to be the case, but the fact that you can break it if you just juice up the guys you want to use, I like that. I actually think that's fun. I think games can... It's fun for games to be broken if it's because you did a good job of setting things up. I think that works out well. And Throne of Bone seemed like it was going to have that. There was definitely synergies between different types of guys you could summon. There were magic spells you could learn. Like we had one, whenever 2 of your guys die, you can give a +2/+4 to one of your guys. There was one that made it so all of our guys in our front row had +2 health, and all the guys in the back row had +2 attack. I had a lot of fun with this. I thought this one was good. I don't know how much we'll really go back to it, but I thought it's a good auto battler that had some interesting concepts. And if you like Super Auto Pets, especially that type of game, this fits right into that. The next demo we played for Data Demo 7 was one that I've been holding on to for a little while because it seemed like it was going to be very relaxing, and a lot of games we play aren't necessarily that. And it was a relaxing puzzle game called Ouros. I'm not sure how to say it. But I actually liked this one a lot. It was definitely relaxing. It had chill music playing. It had nice colors to it. And essentially, it's a puzzle game where you have to move like the connectors of these lines so that you're hovering over the numbers that are displayed on the screen. So like if it's 1, 2, 3, you need to move the connectors so that you're hovering over all of them. And the little orb that's going around your connector needs to hit the numbers in order. So if it's 1, 2, 3, it has to touch them 1 and then 2 and then 3. If you go 1 and then 3 and then 2, you're not doing it right. They also had like this like jelly on the map that you had to avoid. You had to make sure that it was going in the right direction. Sometimes they'd have these little like rock bits that you had to collect as well. They had these teleporters that could make it interesting. I think the demo had about 20 puzzles. I think it said the full release should have about 120. I would probably play this one when it came out. If the price point's not too high, because I never think these like puzzle games should have too high of a cost because they really are kind of a one-time play. But if this was like $3.99, $4.99, I would try this. I thought this was relaxing. We pretty much cruised through most of the puzzles. We're generally pretty good at these puzzle games. We got stuck on one for a little bit, but we figured it out once we thought it over very quickly. We generally do well at these puzzle games, and I would say as far as the little puzzle games we've played since we started streaming again on here, I would say Ouros probably was the one I liked the most. So I would probably play this again when they get the full release. There's a link for it down in the description. If you try the demo, let me know if you liked this one. I thought Ouros was pretty fun. The last demo we played for Data Demo 7 was called Write and Down and Dice. And if that sounds familiar to you, there is a game made by these same people that is called Write and Down. And it's essentially, that is a card game where you can only move right and down to move your card across the map for encounters and things. We haven't played that yet. I've had my eye on it for a little while, but we haven't pulled the trigger. But when I saw this demo actually just released today, as of the time of this recording, I figured we'd give it a try. So essentially it plays out in that same way. You can only move right and down to move across this board, but the combat is all dice related. I have to tell you, this one I didn't like. This was disappointing to me. I thought I would like this one. It seemed up my alley. But I had just a lot of issues with it. First of all, I thought it was just really hard. And I know what you're saying, skill issue, I get that. But I just thought it was hard right off the bat. And not in like a challenging way, just in the monsters did a lot of damage that you really couldn't do anything about. So many of the monsters had like abilities that are like, oh, destroy some of your dice, remove dice from like their slots when you put them in, make your dice weaker, change the color of your dice, things like that. And you really didn't get that many dice to use, and every action you did required the dice. So if you only start off with 3 and you have an enemy that makes it so when you write on their turn, the first thing they do is destroys one of your dice, so you only have 2, it's really hard to get anything done. I just thought they did so much damage and had so many just kind of bullshit like abilities that it was very hard to mitigate the damage you were taking. I also didn't like they had a system where the dice were different colors. And while that seems like in theory it could be cool, I didn't like the way it played out in this demo. Because the character you use plays with fire dice that were red, essentially. But right from like the first combat on, you would fight enemies that you could only destroy if you put a dice in them that was blue, or gray, or purple. And you did have a thing where you could re-roll 2 fire dice to roll 3 dice of any color. But just the randomness of that, I think, is just too RNG heavy. If these monsters can't be destroyed except by dice of the specific color, and you have no control over what color dice you're adding when, that's just not fun. It just delays it. And the thing about this game is delaying the combat only means more damage for you. You don't get higher rewards for it lasting longer. You're not going to heal more. You're not going to get armor. Every single enemy we saw in this demo attacks you. They all do, except for one that did like 1 and it got stronger. They all did like base 3 damage. You only have 25 health, and you do not have a lot of opportunities to heal in this game. Even every time you defeat a floor, you don't even get a chance to heal. Every other time you defeat a floor, you get a chance to choose if you want to heal or get armor or get gold. But every other floor, like the first floor and third floor, you don't even get a reward for beating the level. So you just don't get a lot of opportunity to heal. You only have 25 health to start when most of the enemies do like 3 or 4 damage per turn. It's just hard for the sake of being hard. I didn't view it as challenging. I just thought it was hard. And I didn't feel that. I felt like you only get a couple of dice per turn. Every enemy in the game, essentially, that we saw takes 3 or 4 or more dice to kill it. You have to just put dice in the amount of slots they have. If you have 2 enemies on the board and one takes 4 dice and one takes 6 dice, and you only have 3 dice per turn, essentially, you really have to figure out how you're killing them fast. And you're just not going to be able to. Like, it's going to take you multiple turns, and if both enemies are doing 5 damage to you, you're going to die in a matter of turns. Not enough opportunities to heal. Did not like the enemy's abilities in this. I thought it was too hard from the start. Like I said, this might sound like me just complaining, and maybe it is, but I think roguelikes like these, where you get relics and things, and you go through, they have to have progression. They have to start pretty easy so that you have an opportunity to build your character up. And I don't think writing down in dice gave you that opportunity at all. You got 1 gold per enemy defeated, which is essentially 5 gold per level. And relics would cost 5 gold, essentially. So you'd really be able to get 1 relic per floor, assuming you decided to buy a relic. I just too many issues with this. I will not be checking out the full version of writing down in dice unless it gets dramatically updated and balanced. Like I said, you never know with these demos what you're going to get. I thought Day of Demos 7 was overall a little bit more disappointing than the Day of Demos have been so far. I thought Olliefrog Toad Skater was by far the winner of the day. That and Ouros are probably the only 2 I could full-on recommend to people that want to try these out. Clonizer, Throne of Bone, I think in the right scenario, you could try these out if you like this specific type of game. Mystical Conquests, Aveliana, and Write Down in Dice, I just thought had a lot of issues. If you want to try these out and prove me wrong, there are links for each of them in the description. Feel free to try the demos. Comment and let me know, why you really liked writing down in dice. Or, if you thought that Aveliana was better than I did. Let me know that. I'm always curious. Like I said, I try to be objective and give honest takes on these. I'm never trying to hurt anybody's feelings or anything. If you liked the video and want to hear me review more games like this, both positively and otherwise, feel free to give the video a like. Feel free to subscribe to the channel. We really are trying to continue to grow so we can pump out more of this content for you guys and let you see some of these games you might not have heard about otherwise. I appreciate you guys watching this, and I will see you in the next video.